All right, y'all, we back. Another video. We're gonna do something that we don't do a lot of. That's Dodges. These things just don't get a lot of love, and none of our group are really into Dodges, and we just don't mess with them a lot. We do a lot of mini trucks and Chevrolets, and I do occasionally work on Dodges, and I just don't get a whole lot of work for them. So we got a really clean third gen here. Step to the side here, you can see it's got tube steps on it. It's got mud flaps on it still. It's kind of like the last truck we did in the last video. We're going to take the grandpa old man special off of it and put this thing a lot closer to the dirt. This belongs to a kid from Moultrie, Georgia. They drove 2.5 hours over here to drop it off with me last night so we can lower it. It's going to be low. We're going 5 in the front and about 11-ish, 10, 11-ish in the rear. We're doing a flip kit in the rear with the short shackles. I'll show you when we get the bed off on a Dodge. You don't use a long shackle to lower it. You use that to lift it. So we've got a short shackle. And he also has a 3-inch block that we're going to use. And the front's going to get a spindle and a 3-inch drop coil. And it's got 22s on it. He just had new tires put on it yesterday. We were running 255, 30, or 20s. 22s, I'm sorry. 22s. That was he asked me what tire I recommend, and I know these Dodges, when you get low, the fender well clearance is not like a Chevrolet, so shorter the better, especially with the back being that low. And I haven't seen this truck in person, so he sent me some pictures of it that looked like the wheels may not tuck real good, so I was kind of worried about that. We may have to trim some fenders in the back, roll some fenders, pull some fenders out, do something to make it tuck, because we're doing a monster notch also. So it's going to get, like I said, a flip kit, a shorter shackle, 3-inch block, monster notch, shot relocation, the front, spindles, drop coils. And I've got shocks for the rear, but I do not have shocks for the front, so I'm going to have to figure that out. I have a new set of nitro drop 2s for a Silverado that may work or may not. I don't know. We're going to get in there. We're going to figure it out. The guy, this is his first truck, like I say, and he's excited. His dad was with him last night. His dad was excited, and they just want it done right, and they want it to be low and level. He said he did not want it squatted, and he didn't want it down in the front. He wants it as level as they can get it. So I'm going to do the front first, then I'm going to measure it out, kind of get me a rough idea of what I need to do to get this thing lowered. I'm going to put it on the rack real quick, go ahead and start pulling the wheels and everything off. I'm not going to show you all that because why? But once we start on this front, I'll come back in, show you what we're going to do, how to tear it apart. That way, if you got a third gen Dodge, you want to hammer it, I'll show you how to do it. All right, so we got the tire off this thing. We're going to tear it apart. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this tire rod in loose. We'll zip that off, and then we'll knock it out of there. I believe it is a 21, but I'll tell you in just a second. It was a 21. Come right off. So if you have a tire rod in that's got that hex shape on the bottom, you can take a hammer and hit that directly on the bottom, just like this. And most time it'll come out. If yours has threads that go all the way down to the bottom, you need to hit the side of the spindle right here until you break it loose. Or sometimes I spin the nut upside down, because if threads go all the way to the bottom, most likely it's got a cotter key in it. So you spin it upside down so the whole nut is flush with the bottom of the threads, and then you can hit it up. You got to be careful though, because if you hit it just right, it'll mess the threads up, and then you're going to buy a tire rod in. So I'm gonna get this loose, and then next I'm gonna take this sway bar end link loose, and then the brake caliper, and get that out of the way, and I'll come back in just a second and show you what that looks like. All right, we got the caliper off. The sway bar end link, I got the top of it loose. That's gonna pivot down, so it's free, and I got the tire rod end loose. Next, we're gonna take the top of the shock off up there, and the bottom. The bottom's got 2 bolts. Just go up through the control arm. Real simple. Get it out, and then I'm gonna have to do some checking to see if I got something that's working there, and then we're gonna get these ball joints loose, get the spindle off, get that coil out, and start putting new stuff on already. All right, so we got the spindles off, the coils are out. Just went over here and dug out the new drop spindles. I don't know what brand these are. The customer supplied them, but you can see the difference. The height of the hub is higher on this one. This spindle is aluminum, and this one is steel. There's a big weight difference there. But we're going to swap this hub over. I already got the bolts loose. Just going to flop it over to this, or throw that one away, flop this over on top of the hub, bolt it up, and then I'm gonna go over here and get the new coil, and we'll get it stuck in. All right, we got the spindle hung. The bottom ball joint's snugged up, so it can't fall off. We got the new coil dug out. You can see the height difference. It's about a good coil shorter than the factory one. We're gonna stick it in, let it lift down until this jack stand hits, collapse it enough to put the top ball joint back together, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Also, when you're collapsing it, this needs to go up through there. But I'm out here by myself, so that may be a little bit of a challenge. May have to run around to the other side 3 or 4 times, but we gonna get it. I can get any directions with this set of spindles, but apparently this dust shield's got to be trimmed. I put it back on the truck, and then when I stuck the brakes up there, it wouldn't go. Realized it. So I'm gonna just take the 10 snips and cut it instead of pulling it all back off and doing all that all over again. I'm just gonna grab my snips and hack her off. All right, so I got these shocks that I ordered. I ordered these for the red truck in the last video, and it ended up having torsion bars. So they were supposed to be Beltec 8000s. When they got here, they're 8104s, and I didn't pay no attention because I didn't end up using them. These are actually for like a 0 to 2 inch drop. Luck would have it, they work perfect for this ram. So the customer didn't have any shocks, and I took these out of the pack. I laid it next to the factory shock. It was just a hair shorter, and it's gonna work just fine. So come over here. Oh, what about this? I'm gonna turn my light back on. All right, so I got the coils in, the new shocks in. It's beautiful. These are on. I got the backing plate trimmed. Last thing to do is I'm gonna go in here with a cutoff wheel. I'm gonna cut this weld on this bump stop, and then I'm gonna take the hammer and beat it down a little bit, and then I'm gonna stick the sawzall in and cut the other side, because this bump stop needs to be removed. As you can see on this control arm, it's already hitting. It's already shiny metal right there. So it's been hitting before. Now it's really gonna hit because it's a lot lower. So I'm gonna cut that off, and voila, this side's done. Then we can go get supper. I'm hungry. So we took this bump stop. We cut this weld right here. I'm gonna take this hammer and bend it down, maybe. Alright, I'm gonna take my sawzall, stick it in there, and cut the rest of it off, and dig that bump stop out that fell out, and maybe brush that dirt off. I don't know yet. So, if anybody wants to donate a pack of safety glasses, I think all mine are shot. I just got in a lot of trouble from KK because I didn't have them on when I started grinding. So. That's smoking. Does that mean it's hot?
Dawson's slow clap right here.
Yeah, so see, when I was beating on this ball joint a while ago, this tie rod end was in the way, so I stuck it on top of the sway bar so it wouldn't be in the way. Now that it's all back together, it's still on top of the sway bar. Ah! All right, we got the passenger side completely assembled, everything except the top of the sway bar. I haven't tightened it. You saw my little situation when the tie rod end just a minute ago. I just went to the other side, took this loose, and took the other side back loose, folded this up, put my tie rod in back where it was, and then I just started the nut. I'm going to finish the other side, and then I'll tighten those two together. That way, in case I do run into some kind of situation, you know, like where when I'm jacking this up to put the coil back in, I miss it or something. It's a lot easier to put it all back together. So it will get tightened, but that is complete on this side. And I have to pull this mud flap off while the tire's off. And I'm going to do this other side, try to get it done tonight so I can set this thing on the ground, see how low the front is going to be. And yeah, clicking along. But I'm not going to show you the driver's side because it's the exact same as this side. So I'm going to go pound that out real quick. We'll be back in just a minute. All right, ready? Sure. All right, so when you get the brake caliper loose, it's like stuck on the rotor. An old head showed me this. Instead of like fighting with it and all that stuff and beating it off, shine right here. You stick your screwdriver. So your rotor has got a vent in the center. You just stick it in there. Right over, you can hear it pushing the fluid back. Pull your screwdriver out, put it back up, and then it just falls off. That simple. Make sure you put a zip tie and a hook and hang this thing up. Don't let it hang from the brake line. Because from personal experience, Dodges will break the brake line. I learned that on a customer's truck while he was waiting at 9:15 after the parts store closed. So I had to take him 45 minutes away home one night. It was lovely. Oh, and this brake line on this side is a 3-piece deal. And that's the one I broke. And that dude's like $115, and I had to pay for that out of my pocket. Use the hooks, people. Actually, it was hooked, and I knocked it off. So, almost off the finger. Slide this off because it will fall on your toe, like I said in the last video. All right, same as the other side. There's a couple little tricks there I want to show y'all. All right, so I got this driver's side apart. One of the shock studs in the bottom spun on me, and I was able to get a pry bar in between the shock and the control arm, pry down, KK hit it with the impact, and we got it out. But it's stripped. I don't know if you can get those at the parts store. I'm just going to clean that up a little bit and just tack it to the arm. That way we don't have to worry about it breaking loose on the next person. So I'm gonna get my little belt sander, clean that up a little bit. This is already pretty shiny for me trying to fight with it to get it out. And we're just gonna put a couple good tack welds on it and keep on rolling. All right, we got the driver's sides completely together. The last thing we do, grab this grease gun. I done hit all the upper and lower ball joints, and the sway bar end links are greasable. The tie rod ends are not. So we're just gonna shoot a little grease in there. Not to say that it needed grease, but while the tire's off and I'm in there, I'm going to go ahead and grease it for the customer. It takes 30 seconds aside, and, you know, just do it while you're there. Grab a little spray paint the bottom of the frame bump stop there where you cut it, and it's ready to put tires on, and then see how low this thing is. All right, y'all, it's the next day. It's about 9 o'clock at night. Dan's been here helping me, him and KK and Brandon. Just got the bed off this thing. We just got out here a few minutes ago, so didn't really get a whole lot done. Had some stuff to do tonight. If you can see my dually out there, got a trailer hooked to it with a lot of wood on it. Let's see if I can zoom in on that enough. Yeah. Finally got everything to build some porches on the house. I'm gonna build one on the front and the back. I've been putting it off for years. Finally ready to do it. So I went and got all that. So in the morning I'm gonna get up and we're gonna start that venture. See if we can get the porch built on the front before Thanksgiving. But I got the bed off. I got to do the flip kit. I got to remove the shocks. I'm gonna do the shorter shackles, like I said, step notch, and the blocks. So I don't think I'm gonna start on it tonight. I just kind of want to show you that the bed's off. When I get back out here tomorrow afternoon, we'll go ahead and jump on it. It's kind of cold, and I've been going all day, so I'm about wore out. But whenever I come back, I will show you what we did. All right, y'all. It's been a couple days. I got started on this thing the end of the week, and I had some help lined up this weekend to help me build a porch on the front of the house. It's KK's Christmas present. She got it a little early. I didn't want to build it when it was freezing cold. It's just a little cold now. So we're back on the Dodge. It's now Sunday night, and we went and watched a movie earlier, and went out to eat, and now it's about 8 o'clock, and I'm going to pound out as much of this as I can tonight. I want to go ahead and get the flip kit on. Let me turn this around. I want to get the flip kit on, the shorter shackle on, get these shocks out of the way. I got to get this exhaust out of the way, and get the leaf spring on the bottom. Go ahead and get this flip kit on. I'm going to check the blocks that he brought. If they will center, I'll use them. If not, I'm going to build some more. It shouldn't take me too long to build them, so we're just going to see when we get to that point. But I got to get this thing blowed apart. First things first, we're going to take the shocks off. That's the first thing, both sides. We're going to put a jack stands under the rear end so it can't fall. Then we're going to take the U-bolts loose, both sides. And then we're going to take this top shackle bolt loose. It's got a capture nut on the inside, so you don't have to hold it. And then here, does not have a capture nut. It's got a star head, which is kind of a pain. And then, actually, that one has a star head too. I forgot. I haven't worked on one of these in a while. That bolt's got a regular head on it. So I'm gonna get all these loose. These are fairly simple, both sides to get out, and we can flip the leaf spring I may end up doing them like I do a Chevrolet, where I just knock the bolt in, spin it around. I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out in just a minute, and I'll show you. All right, y'all. So what we're doing next is we're going to build the customer a set of drop blocks. He brought aluminum ones. Let me see if I got one right here. So this is a 1-inch drop block off a customer's truck. As you can see, it didn't hold up. I don't like using these things. I've never personally broke a set of these, but Dan broke a set on a Blazer that he had a while back. It cracked down the middle, and the rear end almost come out from under it. So I don't like using these. I like using the steel ones that you buy from Trick Toys. That's TRICK''D Toys. Guy named Gary, he's out in Oklahoma, makes a bunch of good products. Also, the stud that's on these is not big enough. These are really made for a mini truck, is what they're made for. So the bolt hole on the center of this Dodge is a good bit bigger. Lets it move around. And also, if you notice, the entire flip kit is hanging off the back just a little bit. This is actually better than they normally are on like a Chevrolet. Normally a Chevrolet, they're like this. They're bad. So, because this hole on a Chevrolet is actually really close to the front. So it puts it like hanging half off. Anyway, long story short, I'm going to build him a set of drop blocks. I just went and cut some 2x4 box tubing. This is quarter wall. This is the same way that Garrett makes his. I just didn't have time to order a set and get them here in time. So I need this truck out quick. What I'm going to do is I got these cut. I got to grind them up. And then I got some, these plates I make notches out of. These are 1/4 inch thick. This plate is 6 inches long and 4 inches wide. So I'm going to cut it 2 inches. And I'm going to cut 4 of those to cap each side. The top one will have a bolt in it. So I got to drill holes in all 4 of them. And the holes have got to be even. But the top 2 will have a bolt, the head of a bolt. And then I'll weld the nut to the bottom. That way it can't come out or loosen up over time. I'll show you that in just a minute. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut all this. So I've got to have 8 of these. So this will make 3 of them. And then I just found this one over here. I'd already cut some off. I'm just going to cut it and make the 4th one. And save this second one that I brought over here. Because I use those a lot. So I'm going to get it cut. And once I get everything mocked up or figured out, I will come back and show you. Also, I bought one of these. It came in the mail yesterday. Benchmark Abrasives has a grinding hood for $40. And I haven't used it yet, but so far it looks really good. I'm about to try it out now and peel the plastic off. And we're going to give it a shot. $40. I can never find my safety glasses when I need them. And even with safety glasses on, in the last couple years, I've probably been to the eye doctor 6-7 times to get metal out of my eye, even wearing safety glasses. So maybe this will wrap around more and protect my eyes a little better. So I know you can get them with tinted shields too. So benchmarkabrasives.com. That's where I normally get all my flat disc and everything from. So we're going to give it a shot. Alright, so put those drill bits up because I hate drilling holes. Alright, I got these blocks. I got everything cut. Took me about 30 minutes. Kind of longer than I was expecting. This, as I said, is a piece of 2x4 quarter wall tubing, and it is cut 2.5 inches. We're making 3-inch blocks. And these plates are 1/4 inch thick, so that makes 3 when you add it all together. Alright, so what we got is we got a 7/16 hole with a 7/16 bolt. I got the nut run all the way up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weld that nut to this plate and them threads to that nut so that there's no chance that this can come loose or back out. I'm going to do that on both of these. And then the bottom has a, I'll be honest, I don't know how big that hole is. I used a reamer until it fits snug over the nut on the leaf spring. That's going to be welded to the bottom. And it's going to be welded to the top. Make sure your bolt and your hole are offset to the same side. The reason we're offsetting it, your flip kit has an offset hole. You know, we talked about this a while ago. Has an offset hole. What that does, that moves the rear end back just enough off center that your drive shaft is not too long and keeps your wheel centered in the wheel well when you do your flip kit. So we want that centered perfectly over that block, just like so. Ta-da. It's real simple. It's It's basic. Trick Toy sells these for 60 bucks. By the time I get it all welded out, and if I had to go buy the metal, it would have been cheaper for me to just buy them from him because he sells those for 60 bucks. What he does not include are U-bolts. This Dodge has a 3.5-inch axle tube. Everything I normally do is a Chevrolet. It's got a 3-inch axle tube, or a mini truck has got 2 3/4 or 2.5. So I don't have any that I know of 3.5-inch U-bolts that's going to be long enough to work with this block. So I'm trying to get this mocked up tonight before I get done, and then I'm going to go see my buddy Dusty tomorrow. They do a lot of F-250s and 2500 Chevrolets and new Fords and new Dodges, and they got, you've been out there before, they got U-bolts that start in one corner of the shop and go all the way around. They got U-bolts. So I'm going to try to get this mocked up tonight so that I can measure that and go get some U-bolts tomorrow. On this Dodge flip kit, I don't know if it comes with new bottom plates or you reuse the factory ones. I will let y'all know on that. But I'm going to get all this welded out. First, weld this so you don't forget. Because that will come loose and then your rear end's going to do that. So, alright. I'm going to start welding. I'll show you what it looks like when I get done. All right, there we go. We got the blocks built. I'm going to let this frame down and get these leaf springs hung back up, get this and the flip kit mocked up, and the shorter shackles. I'll show you those after I get those pulled off, and I'll show you what the shorter shackles look like. These Dodges, the shackle hangs instead of goes up like a Chevrolet or a Ford, so you have to put a shorter shackle on it to lower it. You know, it's just same principle, it's just the opposite. What you're doing is bringing the back of the leaf spring up, which is effectively lowering the vehicle. So, all right, I'm gonna get all this mocked up and I'll show you in just a minute. I've also got to cut this exhaust off in a minute, so it may be gone in the next clip or it may not. I'm not sure yet. All right, so here's our new shackle. You can see the height difference. It just moves the back of the leaf spring up 1 inch because, like I said, it's hanging like this, and it's moving the back up 1 inch to lower it 1 inch more than the flip kit by itself. So I looked it up. This flip kit is supposed to be 6 inches of drop. I think I said 7 earlier, but it's 6 inches on this truck, and then the shackle would make it 7, and then with a 3-inch block, it's going to make it 10 inches of total rear drop. So this thing's going to be hammered, and like I said, we've got that big step notch to put in it, so we got plenty of axle clearance. The next thing to worry about is drive shaft clearance. This thing's actually got a small diameter drive shaft, so I'm hoping it's going to be good. But we may have to do some notching on some cross members. But I'm going to get these shackles mocked up, get all this flip kit and blocks and all mocked up, and I will come back and show you that. And I don't know if we're going to actually be able to let it all the way down because of the bump stops yet. We may have to do some work to get those removed so that we've got enough room to actually compress the suspension enough. All right, so I got this passenger side mocked up. I had to dig around. I got a bunch of scrap stuff in there, and I don't hardly throw anything away. So these are the top pads, like come on a 99 to 2018 Chevrolet, and they use square U-bolts. So these are the pads that normally sit on top of the rear end, and then the U-bolts go around and go down. On a Dodge, they're different. The U-bolts come in from the bottom, and they're round. Those are nowhere near long enough. So I went around. I tried to use this, but where the U-bolts sit was a little too narrow. I mean, just a little, and they kept trying to pop off. So I went over and found some of these. These were off an old flip kit, and what happened was, when you buy a eBay flip kit or Amazon or some of the bigger named companies also have these plates. What it does is you put the flip kit on and you put the plate up, and then you reuse the factory U-bolts. Most of the time, I reuse them, but occasionally I do a drop like this where I put a block in. So when I do that, most of the time the U-bolts that I get at the parts store are round, so you don't have to run this plate. You just run them right over the axle tube. That would have been preference would have been to run round ones here like the factory was, but I didn't have any round ones. But I did have some square ones that was long enough. So I dug those out, got some of these plates off the shelf, and this side is completely bolted together. I did have to cut a little bit of the threads off to run the nut on up with the impact. I could have done it with a wrench, but that was going to take forever. So I just took the cut-off wheel, knocked them off. I'm going to go do this side. This U-bolt is, hold on, let me grab this right here in case you are doing this kind of truck and you want to know what to get. That U-bolt is, well, hold on, I'm struggling. About 13 inches long. You could get away with one that was about 11 to 11 and a half, and then you wouldn't have to cut it. So if you're going to do this to your truck, you can get a round one that's about 11, or a square one that's 11 to 11 and a half, and use some of these plates and it'll work. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this other side, and that's probably gonna be it for now. It's about 11 o'clock. My boy Junior, he just come out to see what I was doing. He didn't even talk to me. Old punk ass. All right, so I got the U-bolts, blocks, flip kit, everything installed with the short shackles. I already showed you all that. Got this notch out. I didn't know what kind of notch he'd bought when I first talked to him, but when he got here, he's got the extensive notch. Man, I just took that little rubber mallet, tapped this thing a couple times, and it went right down on there. I've got to get it centered over the rear end, mark it so I know where to grind on all the way around, and then I'm going to pull it back off. I'm going to cut these tabs off. There's 4 of those. Those are for when you use Extensive's 2-link kit to bag one of these trucks. The lower shock mount is off the side of the 2-link bar, and it goes up to there. And there's also some tabs over there for a panhard bar that comes with their bag kit. I'm going to cut all those tabs off, clean it all up, and I got to grind all the, I don't know if that's paint or powder coat. I would assume it's paint, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna grind all that off around the edges and get it ready to weld in. Probably be tomorrow before I get that welded in, but I am gonna go ahead and cut those tabs and all off tonight. I'm good and dirty, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it while I'm ahead of the game. All right, y'all. So I keep forgetting to film. I'm sorry, but I got the notch completely ground down all around the edges, all the way around. I got those tabs cut off that I was talking about earlier. I got the bar ground down smooth, all 4 spots, and I also got the panhard bar tabs cut off. I got this notch in. I got it centered over the axle. Don't worry about that line there. It was a little crooked. My bad. But it is centered over the axle at full compression. The truck is picked up right now, so it may look a little off, but I promise it's where it's supposed to be. And I got it tacked in. I'm about to burn it all in, everything, and it'll be ready to cut the center section out. So over there on that side, you had to cut the brake line bracket. I cut that. We'll relocate it to somewhere, build something new. We'll get that fixed up. But I'm gonna get this burn in, and I said I probably wasn't gonna do it tonight, but I'm gonna go ahead and burn it in, and then I'm gonna call it a night. And when I get here tomorrow, we'll cut the center out and start plating it. All right, I got them babies burn in. As you can see, I got the weight on the suspension now. You can see where the actual center line is. I did have to put a clamp on the inside on both the back ones to pull it in enough to where there wasn't a gap, and the front one on this side. I haven't welded that side yet. It's kind of behind the gas tank. I may weld down a little ways as far as I can without pulling the gas tank. I really don't want to pull it out if I don't have to, and I can assure you with all the weld going on that it's not going to go anywhere. But I may end up pulling it out. I don't know yet. So when I get here tomorrow, I got to cut the center of the notch out, and then Extensive sells, or they don't sell, they include these plates. There's 6 of them, and that's your front and your back. That's your top plate, and they go in there to cap the bottom side of this notch out, and we got to weld those. That's kind of, honestly, that's the most pain in the butt part of this notch to me, is welding all those plates in. And if you don't know, and I don't know if I said it already, this notch kit is from Extensive Metalworks. It's a really nice kit. It just slides over the frame. I really like these. Me personally, I'm going to buy the notch from Trick Toys or Infamous, because these are really expensive. They got a really good price on the website, and then when you go to pay shipping, it's like $200 and something freaking dollars. But I do like the way they look. I like the way they go in. They all just fall right down on the frame, weld it in, cut it out. Super simple. So if you're not good at measuring and getting them the same side to side, this may be a really good kit for you, because it's really hard to get it off because they've already got these crossbars in, and you can't really get it crooked. So you just got to get it centered over the axle. And that's it. And once you get it there, just burn it in. Good to go. All right. I will see y'all tomorrow. I am going to bed. It is midnight, and I have to go to work in 6.5 hours. So, toodaloo. All right, y'all. I'm back again, another night. Back on this truck. I done got started and didn't record, but I got the center of this notch cut out. I'm about to get these plates out, start tacking all that in. I got to grind it back a little bit. I got a little bit of overhang. I'm going to weld this side out completely before I cut that side. And it's just me welding, so I don't really feel like I have to show you that. But I will show you once I get it all tacked up. Hey, Bailey girl. All right. I did it again. It was working. Forgot to film. I've already got that shock over there mocked up. I took the tabs that I cut off of here. I thought I had some a set of the infamous tabs, but I guess I used them on something. So I took those and just notched them out to fit the pipe. Done that, and then I'm gonna do this one now. So I'm just gonna stick it up here and see where I need to grind the paint off. Grind that off, and I'll stick it up there and tack it. What I did is I have the full weight on the suspension right now. Naturally, it's going to be lower once you put the bed back on it and all that, but I've got it completely collapsed, and I left myself plenty of travel on the shock, so it'll never bottom that shock out. But I didn't want it at the bottom of the shock stroke either, because I didn't want it to ride rough like when you hit a bump. So it's about dead nut center of the shock travel, and it worked out good. So I don't know what the part number is on these shocks. They come with a kit. There's no stickers on them to try to find a part number, so we're just going to use what we got. They look about the same length as the what's the part number? 47. I can't remember. Anyway, the Monroe shocks that we normally use, 37281, I believe is part number. Yeah, that's it. 37281. They look about that length. They're not ridiculously long. I believe they would have worked in the factory location. They would have been really close to the bottom of their travel, but I think they would have worked fine. But anyway, we're going to still move them up here. So I'm going to get this tacked up. Once I get this side tacked, I'm going to weld the shock tabs all the way out. That'll be good. And then we're going to start painting. And yeah, getting closer on this thing. Like I say, I already got the bottom of the notches welded in. And this is the last thing that I have to weld besides this brake line bracket. I got to figure that out in a minute, but I'll show you that too also. All right, so here we are. The customer requested that I paint his notch this teal color, or sea foam. I don't know exactly what color it is, because it matches the sticker on his windshield. Told him I could do that, ain't no problem. So we got out here with some tape, painted it up, painted the frame black, painted the rear end black, painted the notch. I don't know what color this is. Let's see if it tells us anywhere. Satin vintage teal. So, there we go. KK's here. She's going to help me stand this bed up real quick so I can get the hole cut out. And maybe we can, by the time we get that done, all this paint will be dry and I can put this back together and we can put the bed on tonight. Okay, maybe tomorrow.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Just so y'all know, them Dodge beds are freaking heavy. Should have took the freaking tailgate off. Now I gotta stand here and catch some breath. Oh, she's over there breathing hard too. Don't let her little laugh fool y'all. Alright, so it's time to cut a hole in the bed. When you pull the bed off the Dodge, there's these rubber pads right here. They're spray painted black now. But that's where the cross member of the bed sits. There was one right here, but the notch is a little too far back to clear the cross member. And here, it's also going to hit, well, I'm not going to say it's going to hit. Cross member is going to be about right there. And I really wish they would have made that notch like a ½ inch narrower, where I wouldn't have had to cut both these cross members out. But I do have to cut the rear one out. I'm going to try to leave the front one where it is, because I don't want the floor of the bed doing this number, because I cut all the cross members out. So come over here. Oh, hang on, let me show you my measurement. I'm going to keep this one. So we're going to go right to the back of that rubber stopper. Hang on, I'm struggling. To that hole, to that bed mount hole is 23 inches. So let's go right to the bed. I'm going to go from the center of this hole. 23 inches is going to be right beside that cross member. So you can kind of see my Sharpie mark there. This one's about ready for retirement. Marked it. The rear measurement come out to about right there. So I'm going to just come back 1/2 inch and just cut this cross member out and leave that one. So my cut mark will be across here and across here, and this whole section will come out. I'll cut that with a cutoff wheel. That's seems to be the fastest way to do it for me. Being we're cutting through 2 layers there, it may take a minute, but I always cut these 2 lines, and then I'll make a cut here and get my saws off and cut it out. And I've got to pull those mud flaps off, and I'm hoping that the wheel tubs don't have to be cut out. I kind of hate doing those now since Chris's truck where I cut through the bedside.
Because you're stupid.
It's kind of got me a little, I don't want to do it anymore. But anyway, I just got to get the bed on and see how low it actually is to the fenders and the fender wells here. That is a little bit higher than the fender lip. So as long as it's not tucking in the fender, that should be all right. But we're gonna get this cut tomorrow. We'll find out. So, do y'all want to watch me cut it? Sure they do.
Boring.
All right, y'all. So next day, me and my pops just got out here. We got the bed back on the truck. There's no bed bolts in it yet, but it's just sitting there. And the rear tire is really close to the fender well. And the gas tank is actually surprisingly really close to the ground. It's probably about 4 inches off the ground if I had to guess without measuring it. So I think what I'm going to do is go back and put the factory shackle back on the back just to raise it a little bit. And it'll be a little closer to the front because this guy's dad said he did not want it squatted, which it's not terrible, but I would rather it be sitting like dead nuts level because that's what he asked for. And the front, I'm worried if I go any lower, when you start hitting bumps, it's going to start rubbing the fenders. And the rear is already sitting on the fenders, so I'm going to trim those. But raising it that 1 inch is going to allow me to have more clearance. So I'm waiting to hear back from the customer right now. We'll figure out what we're going to do. I have a feeling he's going to say he wants the front lower, but we'll see. All right, so I got the rear shackle swapped out. It picked it up just a little bit. It actually wasn't as much as I was expecting it to. But I want to go in and trim this fender lip. I just made me a little mark right here so I'd know kind of where to cut it whenever I got the wheel off. So I'm just going to take my cutoff wheel and just trim this back about half of the thickness of the fender lip. And that should be enough clearance for both sides. I'm going to do this side and then go take the wheel off the other side, do it. And that should take care of the tire clearance in the back, keep it from rubbing. If not, we'll take it off and sand a little more. But we're getting close with this thing. So the customer asked about cutting the front coils a little bit to get the front a little lower. But I'm worried with this thing having new coils on it that they're going to settle a little bit after you start driving it. And we go cutting on them and then it sags a little bit. You know, if it sags an inch after they settle, that's going to be bad. It's going to be sitting on the fender. So, but anyway, I'm going to get this cut and I'll show y'all what it looks like. All right, y'all. We got this thing sitting on the ground. So the front is just a hair higher than the back. I'm afraid those coils is going to settle a little bit after they drive on it a little bit. So I don't really want to mess with it. But the rear is sitting perfect. I trimmed those fender lips. Got that stock shackle put back on. We're going to go test drive this thing real quick, make sure everything's good. It looks good. It's a good looking truck. Super clean truck. So if everything's good, I'll come back tomorrow in the daylight, make y'all a little bit of video of this thing, as long as it ain't raining. and maybe we can get some rolling shots or something of it. Close this video out. All right, so I sent a picture to the customer earlier, and he said that he was okay with the front going down some, and now that it was done, I wasn't happy with it. I wanted the front a little bit lower. Even after putting the shackle on the back, it still wasn't quite level. So I just pulled the side back apart, and I'm gonna take the cutoff wheel and whack a half a coil off, put this back together, and hope that that puts it where I want it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do both sides real quick. I already showed you tearing it apart and all that one time, so I'm not gonna show you again. But I'm gonna just come straight across this loop, whack, cut it off there, throw it back in, and we're gonna hope for the best. All right, y'all. Some of my buddies come by, stood around while I finish this thing up. We cut a half a coil off each round. The front went down just a hair over an inch. It's still a little bit higher than the back, just a hair, but it's really close. And I'm like I say, I'm scared to go any lower because I'm afraid the coils is going to settle some, and I just don't want the tires rubbing the front. So I'm going to test drive this thing around the block. If everything's good, I will come back tomorrow in the daylight and film a couple clips of it, show y'all how it sits, give y'all a rundown on what we did, everything parts wise, and close this video out.
Be quiet. I hear the thunder that comes from far away. It's like a noise in my